Hello again, I'm Rebecca, and this is the first installation of my little albinism story time and question and answer time. So, just as a recap, I have albinism and I will answer any and every question you have, no matter how bizarre or however stupid you may think it is or however offensive it may be. I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. So I have 3 questions here from Catercool90, and obviously I'm using my binoculars, so I'm reading the screen, so I have no idea if I'm looking at the camera or not. But the first one is, when you read, does it look like words are shaking? Back to the camera. Okay. For me, sometimes it looks like words are shaking. Because for me, nystagmus doesn't really bother me. I don't notice it. I usually use just one eye, so I don't usually notice it as much. But when I look at something with 2 eyes, it does tend to hop from side to side. And I think it's the strabismus, as my eyes tend to have one working more and then the other working more. But I'm not sure if other people have eyes that shake, like when they read, like if words shake as they read. So if anybody else would like to comment on that, any other people with albinism who are watching this, I'm not sure really. And if it does shake, then I'm just so used to it that I don't notice, which is a possibility. Question number 2. Do your eyes ever look like a different color, possibly red, under certain lighting conditions? Yes, they do. My eyes will change from light blue to purple to pink to, I guess, sometimes red and sometimes gray, depending on what colors are around me or what lighting there is. But the lighting is usually a big factor, because here is my lovely whiteboard with a, I can see my screen in it, with a cheap drawing that I tried to copy out of my anatomy textbook of an eye. And I just labeled a few of the parts, but so you have your cornea, your lens, and around the lens is the iris, which is muscles and ligaments that control how far dilated your eye is. And these muscles and ligaments usually have I'm not used to this camera, it's always opposite of what I think it is. Usually have a pigment, and usually the pigment is fairly dark, like a dark green or dark blue. And then in the back here you have the retina and the optic nerve and some other good stuff. I'm going to figure this camera out, I promise you. Yeah, right here, optic nerve, retina. So what happens when your eyes seem redder is the light is passing through the lens, and then it's reflecting on the retina and coming back out through the iris, so that what you see on the iris, the pinkish or reddish tinge that you'll get, is light reflected from the back of the eye. This is also why animals with albinism have redder eyes. It seems because animals have an extra reflective coating in the back of their eye, so more light is reflected. So, oh yeah, and if I'm wrong, please feel free to flame me, but this is how I understand it. Anyway, so that is why the eyes may seem redder at certain times or in certain light conditions. Also, some people do have naturally pinker eyes, but generally people with albinism don't have the red eyes that are stereotypically described. Question number 3. How far can you see and or read? Alright, so I have 2300 vision, which that's called an acuity. My acuity is 2300. And what this means is the first number is 20, which is 20 feet, which is usually the general measurement. So that means in 20 feet, for me, it looks like I'm 300 feet away from a 20-foot away object. So perfect vision is 20/20. You're standing 20 feet away from something, it looks like it's 20 feet away. For me, I'm standing 20 feet away from something, it looks like it's 300 feet away. To be legally blind, I'm not sure whether it's 2100 or 2200, but I can look it up and get back to you if you want to know. I think for driving you have to be better than 2070 or something. I think that's it. I'm not sure. But there are people with way worse vision than me, so I feel very privileged. But, you know, everybody's got something that's better and something that's worse. And everybody's just got their own little struggles. Speaking of struggles, I have a 1 chair a day limit. because chairs are out of my visual field. Basically, I tend to trip over them a lot. So if I only walk into one chair a day, I'm doing pretty good. If I have my cane, it's still kind of hard because the legs of a chair are like here, and I might be walking into the part that's right here. So it's more difficult, but I have avoided many chair disasters recently, so I'm proud of myself. Also, what I wanted to talk about was in Young Frankenstein, there is a man who is blind who has really bad depth perception, as I do, because with the strabismus, it gives you really bad depth perception. I don't have any, as I discussed in the other video. And he keeps pouring things on the Frankenstein monster instead of in the cup or in the bowl. And I actually poured piping hot chocolate on my hand this past winter because of that. But there are things that we are taught that help us be more careful about depth perception. Like, instead of reaching out for something like this, like, okay, another cup example. Okay, where's the camera? Instead of reaching out for something like this and swiping at it because you're going to knock it over, we reach forward like this, gently, until we touch it, and then move our hand around it. There are lots of ways and little mannerisms that you can learn to adapt to the world around you. So that's one of the things that I do. You can ask me how I do daily things because sometimes it's different than other people. And one of my recent things is I've been learning how to go okay and ask for help because I'm a bad asker for helper. Because when I was a kid, a lot of people were like, be independent, be independent. Well, being independent and burning your hand in the oven is not a good thing. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, complaints, comments, anything, just feel free to post them on the video, and have a lovely day / evening / whatever time it is where you are. If I can find the off button. Okay, I forgot to mention, so that was how far I can see. Now this is how much I can read. This is my basic textbook for college. Heavy, expensive, small print. It doesn't really work well for me. I prefer something that's 20-point font, which is probably about this big, because if something's blown up so big, I get disoriented, so I take 20-point font and use a 5x magnifier, which makes it a lot bigger and a lot easier to read. Also for distance reading, I use this monocular, so I'm reading the itty bitty normal print on YouTube when I was answering the questions. This improves my vision to vaguely, maybe about 20/30 on a good day, but really not, probably about 20/50. But as far as reading goes, I have a Mac, so Alex reads out loud to me, and he whispers sweet nothings in my ear and helps me do my research. And I have a lovely roommate who helps me read things as well, because I really didn't get my biology textbook on CD, and I should look into books on CD, but they have been very difficult for me in the past because there's an operator error sometimes. But as far as reading, I also have a lovely Japanese textbook, and I shall explain it by saying, okay, these are the last kanji that we had to do. This size character is kind of acceptable, but this work that we have to do that's smaller in here, like that we have to memorize, okay, there's my book. This work, oh no, I'm pointing to the other page, okay. This work is really hard for me to read, especially when the contrast is bad. I prefer the white on black, sometimes the black on white if my eyes are being finicky, but usually I prefer white on black. But my Spanish textbook, black on red / pink and black on gray are not my friends. I like things that are high contrast. Favorite in the whole wide world is black on light blue. That's what all my papers were in high school, but now that I'm in college, I'm a big kid, nobody's going to print anything on blue paper for me, because either A, I'm not going to ask, B, they're not going to want to do it, or C, they're going to forget. Because most of my teachers are very accommodating, except for they forget. Because nobody's perfect, and I'm forgetful too. We all forget stuff. So, the end. For real this time. If I can find the stop button.